So begin in a comfortable seated position. You can sit kind of how like I'm sitting. You can sit in more of a cross-legged position. And I like to place a blanket under my hips to lift them up off the ground, bring them up a little higher than my knees. Makes sitting a little... We'll just start with a little bit of breathing. You can rest your hands on your thighs and just slowly begin to deepen your breath. Throughout pregnancy, as baby gets bigger and bigger, you might find that it's a little harder to take a deep breath. Because typically when we aren't pregnant, our diaphragm, that muscle underneath our lungs, pushes down, and that's how we take a deep breath. In pregnancy, baby starts to take up that space there. And so what we can do instead is breathe more into our chest and our ribs. So this is called 3D breathing. We'll bring the hands to the rib cage on either side. It's kind of right around where your bra strap is. So you can open your hands kind of like in a C shape and just rest them here. And as you breathe in, see if you can focus your breath in your chest and especially around your ribs, as if you're expanding your ribs outward to the sides, the front, the back as you breathe in. And whenever you exhale, just finding that softening and that relaxation. And you might notice you can take a little bit deeper of a breath, especially if you're further along in the second trimester, when you breathe more into your chest and expand in the rib cage. I've been using this lately when I feel a yawn coming on. Lately, those yawns have been a bit uncomfortable, feels like extra pressure around my belly. So I hope this 3D breathing is helpful for you. We'll take one more breath just like this, breathing in, feeling your ribs expand outwards. Trying to focus that breath a little more in the chest. And then on the exhale, you can release your hands down. And I invite you to keep that 3D breath in mind as we flow throughout the rest of our practice. And you can even do 3D breathing anytime during the day. Next, we'll move into a little bit of shoulder stretches, because sometimes if we haven't been doing very much breathing in our chest area, the muscles in between the ribs can get a little tight. And so 3D breathing starts to open up and reduce that tension in the intercostal muscles. But we can also help that by releasing any tension in the shoulders and the neck, and that just feels good too. So from here, let's take an inhale, maybe finding that inhale in your chest and your ribs. Sweep your arms out to the side and overhead. And then exhale as you float your arms back and down. And with each exhale, feel your belly muscles kind of gently hugging your baby in towards your spine. It's real gentle. And flow with your breath, inhaling arms up, breathing into your chest and your ribs. And then exhaling, slowly float your hands down. Gently draw your belly in towards your spine. Once more, just like that. And exhale, float your hands back down. Next, we'll do a little bit of side stretches. So take your right hand or your fingertips rested on the mat to the side. And on an inhale, swoop your left arm out to the side and overhead. Feeling that stretch in the side body. And on the exhale, float down. And we'll go back and forth from one side to the other. Let your breath lead the way. Inhale, float your arm out and overhead. And then exhale as you float your arm back down. Just that gentle core engagement, drawing baby in towards your spine. Once more, both sides. Inhale, left arm out and up. And then exhale, float your arm down. Last one, other side. And then exhale, slowly float your arm back down. And let's go ahead and do some shoulder circles as well. Those always feel good. Just a few times in one direction. And then you can reverse direction. These stretches will come in really handy too once baby gets here and you're doing a lot of holding and rocking and feeding. Okay, nice. All right, next we'll move into a few hands and knees or quadruped positions. These are wonderful for pregnancy for a variety of reasons. So if you'd like to join me, we'll come onto hands and knees. If your knees are sensitive like mine, you might, or you can use your blanket to just provide a little extra cushion. So the knees under hips, wrists under shoulders, spread your fingers wide. Start to come into kind of a neutral spine, what feels like a neutral spine, and we'll just start with another breathing technique to help us with our core engagement. So take a deep breath here, finding that 3D breathing, breathing into your ribs and your chest. Let your belly, your pelvic floor relax. And on your exhale, we're going to find that core engagement. Use your core to gently hug your baby up. Lift up through the pelvic floor. Inhale, relax it all. On your next exhale, let's do the same thing, but we're going to add in a and you might notice that just doing that sound with your breath kind of helps turn on that core a little bit. So if that feels right, you can continue that. And you can keep breathing. An option here to just find any little movements. You can make up the movements here. You can come into kind of a cat-cow if you're familiar with that, where you kind of move your spine in both directions. Just careful not to overextend in the extension portion. But you can also kind of sway your hips from side to side. Just any movement here that feels good on your spine. And then next we'll move into one of my favorite pregnancy exercises, I guess, which would be some hip circles. So you can take one knee and bring your foot out to the side. It's about halfway up between your other knee and your wrist. You can turn your toes out to the side here. And we're basically just going to circle the hips right here. My teacher called this primal hip circles. And these are wonderful. If there's only one exercise or kind of pose that you do in your day, say you only have just a couple of minutes to do something, do these hip circles. They help release any tension all around the hips. You're probably feeling it maybe in your inner thigh, maybe the hamstrings as well, and you go in a reverse direction. These are wonderful practices to open and stretch all around the pelvis, the ligaments, the muscles. It's also great for the pelvic floor. It's good for positioning for baby. Let's go ahead and do the opposite side. So just going slow here, set yourself up on the other side, making any adjustments that you need. And start to circle your hips. Remember, each exhale, just using your core to gently draw baby up towards you. And with each inhale, letting your belly, pelvic floor relax. You can go to reverse direction. And one more circle just like that. When you're ready, you can bring your knee back in. Let's tuck the toes and sit the hips up on your heels. Now, if you don't do this stretch often, it might feel very intense right now. So I invite you to find that inner strength, use your breath. This can be a little practice for working with intense sensations. But it's also a really wonderful stretch for your feet, your calves, for whenever we come into those squat-like positions. This is going to really help you there. So another great stretch to do throughout your day. We're going to pause here for just a minute or so I can give you a few options for down dog. So we'll do down dog next. You can do down dog like the traditional way, we're going to have a little wider stance, which I'll share in just a moment. But if you're experiencing some bad heartburn right now in this moment, I know my heartburn tends to come up right at the end of the night, but if you've got heartburn right now, you might not want to come into something like down dog where your heart is above your head, but you can do down dog against the wall. And so how you'll do that is you'll just gently make your way up to standing, place both hands on the wall, and walk your feet back until it feels like your body is kind of coming into an L shape. And you'll get a lot of the benefits of down dog, but a little more of an upright posture. So let's slowly come back onto hands and knees. You can kind of tap out the tops of your feet from that stretch that we just did. And then we'll come into down dog. If you have a blanket on the mat, you can slide that off to the side. We won't need it till the very end of class. And then for down dog on the mat, so walk your hands up towards the top of the mat, fingers spread wide, tuck your toes, take a deep breath here into the ribs, that 3D breath. On your exhale, engage your core, like maybe use the shh breath to lift your knees and your hips. Once you get here, you might step the feet wide. The bigger your baby bump is, the wider you might need to step your feet. And if it feels good, you can drop one heel at a time down towards the mat. Feel a nice stretch in the hamstrings, the calves. Maybe start to melt your heart in the direction of your feet, or kind of draw your heart in that direction, bringing your ears a little more in line between your arms. You can sway your hips from side to side, and you can always come down at any time. Take one more breath here. And on your exhale, use that shh breath. Engage your core as you slowly lower your knees down, maybe one at a time. Go really slow here from hands and knees. We're going to, before we come up to standing, I'll just mention it throughout the class. In pregnancy, our blood volume increases by quite a good bit. I'm going to say it's 3 times. And that's why we can get dizzy if we move too fast from laying down to standing up or sitting to standing. So just keep that in mind throughout the practice. Take your time, especially when we're going from like down dog or even from the floor moving up to standing, which we'll do now. So from here to come up to standing, if you've got a chair or something nearby, that's always helpful. If not, you can step 1 foot forward, kind of coming into this proposal position, and then put your hands on your front thigh to lean into it to slowly rise up. And again, just go really slow here, and that'll help it'll help your body kind of regulate that transition. Okay, next we're going to come into mountain pose or Tadasana. We'll do this just briefly to kind of work on our posture a little bit. So step your feet about hip width distance apart, toes facing forward. Just finding this kind of neutral stance here. Now, a lot of times in pregnancy, especially as our bellies grow bigger and bigger, we tend to stick our bellies out and kind of put our weight in our low back. But this can kind of cause some issues over time. It can contribute to backache and some misalignment in the body. So I invite you to kind of check in with your posture here. You can even look down if you need to, see if your hips are forward of your ankles. The goal here is to get the hips kind of right over the ankle. The pelvis, sometimes we have a tendency to tip it forward and kind of send the booty back. That can also be uncomfortable for our low back. So you might bring your hands to your hips and kind of tilt your pelvis a little more forward if that's what you need. You don't want to do too much, right? We don't want to tuck our tailbone here. Just finding that neutral alignment in the pelvis. Wonderful. Let's see, let's move into some squats next. So while we're at it, we'll do kind of like a half squat. Squats are so wonderful for pregnancy in general, for building up that strength in our hips, in our legs, in our core, and they're also really great for labor too. So these are another thing to do on a daily basis if you can find the time. So what we'll do is start with the hands on the hips. Take a deep breath, breathing into your rib cage. And on your exhale, find that engagement in your core. Belly hugs baby in as you hinge forward at your hips and just stick your booty back just a little bit. We'll start high and then you can always work your way a little lower if that feels right. Our goal here is to kind of keep the knees above the ankles as best you can. And to help counterbalance it, because you might start to find your toes lifting up off the mat here, to help that counterbalance, you can bring your arms out and forward and reach your chest a little more forward. So really turning on the glutes here, getting them nice and engaged. One more breath here, deep breath in into your ribs. On your exhale, let's rise up. Let's flow through that squat several times, maybe 5 times here, just moving with your breath, maybe sinking your hips a little bit lower if you can, but try to really send your hips back and back and back to keep your knees over your ankles. That's really gonna make the glutes work here. So when you're ready, we'll take an inhale, and on the exhale, gonna sit back in those heels, feel your core hugging baby in, working here, and let's flow. So we'll inhale up and exhale back. Inhale up and exhale back, and just move at your own pace. If you notice, I have a tendency myself to really find trouble balancing there and my toes come up. So if that's happening to you too, try to reach your chest even more forward so you have a little bit more weight in the front, but you're still keeping the knees over the ankles. Strong glute is going to help us out so much throughout pregnancy. I notice when I don't do my glute exercises, my SI joint pain really starts flaring up. I think we'll do a video on my SI joint exercises that I've been doing recently, if that's something that you're going through. All right, and the next time you rise up, we'll release our squat practice. And then let's move through a little bit of warrior, some goddess pose to open the hips even further, strengthen our legs, strengthen our hips, and we'll move it back down to the floor. Okay, so from here, start to walk your feet out, and you can heel toe them once you get a little further out. We'll start on the right side. So take your right toes and rotate them to the short edge of your mat. Pick up your left heel and set it back an inch or two. So the back foot is just turned in slightly, and the front foot is rotated all the way open. And now our hips and our chest are facing the long edge of the mat, setting up for warrior two. So if you know this pose, you've done yoga before, you can go ahead and bend your front knee. Make your way into it. Adjust your stance if you need to. Once you get there, you might widen the stance or shorten the stance. You might take a peek down and see that your knee is tracking right over your ankle. There's a tendency for the knee to want to fall in this pose. Just keeping it over your ankle. When you're ready, you can float your arms out to the side and gaze over your right fingertips. And remember, the beauty of a YouTube video at home is that you can stop at any time. You can take a break at any time. You can get water. So just listen to your body. If something is challenging, but you're not in pain, sometimes it can be good to challenge ourselves. Some days, a little bit. So just listen to your body. You might feel your inner thigh talking to you here. Feeling that strength in your leg, finding your warrior mama. If you haven't met her yet, you will eventually. Now let's flow a little bit. So we'll inhale, straighten your front leg, reach your arms up. Breathe into the ribs on the exhale. Feel your core pull belly in as you come back to warrior two, also lifting up through the pelvic floor. Inhale, relax your belly, pelvic floor, reach your arms up. And exhale back down. You can keep your shh breath, or you can breathe in and out through your nose. Last one. From here, you can float your hands to your hips, straighten your front knee, rotate your foot, and next we'll move into goddess pose, then we'll do warrior two on the other side. So heel toe your feet a little bit closer together, then turn your toes out. You're kind of pointing towards the corners of your mat. Hands to hips. This is a squat-like pose if you're not familiar with goddess pose. So take a deep breath here. On your exhale, bend your knees, bring them right over your ankles, adjust your stance if you need to. You can bring your hands to your hips. We'll flow here in just a moment. Tailbone is kind of reaching downward. Keep your core gently hugging baby in with every exhale. Pelvic floor is lifted here. This is a wonderful pose for strengthening the pelvic floor and also lengthening it as well. So let's flow. Inhale, straight legs, arms up. Relax pelvic floor, relax belly, and wait for your exhale to hug baby in. Feel that lifting, that drawing up in the pelvic floor as you sit down. Inhale, arms up. And exhale back down. Two more. Inhale up. Exhale down. Maybe sinking a little deeper. Last one. All right. Next time you rise up, we'll set up for warrior two on the other side. I usually start that by bringing the feet first parallel to each other. And then rotate your left toes to point towards the short edge of the mat. Lift your back heel, set it back just a little bit. Both legs straight to start with. Then when you're ready, bend your left knee, bringing it over your ankle. And then whenever you're ready, you can float your arms up, out to a T, gaze over your left fingertips. Feel that expansion in your chest, that opening in your hips, your baby in your belly. And then just as we did before, we'll do a little flow. So inhale, straight legs, arms up. And exhale back down. Whatever breathing technique helps you. I love the shushing breath. Really activates the core for me, but you can also keep it as silent, more of a silent exhale. Two more just like that. Last one. Wonderful. You can bring your hands to your hips, straighten your front leg. Bring your toes in and heel toe your feet a little bit closer. We are going to come into a wide-legged forward bend. We're going to go really slowly again so we can help avoid any kind of feelings of dizziness. So hands to hips, inhale, lift up through your head. On your exhale, bend your knees, and with a flat back, hinge at your hips, and slowly lower down. Go real slow here, like you're almost moving in slow motion. If you have a block, you can rest your hands on a block to bring the floor a little closer to you. If you don't have a block, you can come down onto fingertips, or you can grab anything that might be around you in the room. I love using a block, especially when I'm pregnant. Just make sure you have plenty of space for your belly. And also feel free to come into any little movements here that kind of feel nice. It might feel good to bend one knee at a time and then the other. Kind of changes the stretch in the hips. You can, I don't even know how to describe it, just kind of wiggle or shift your hips around from side to side, or you can kind of hold this still. What we're looking for here is a nice stretch in the hamstrings, the back of the legs, the inner thighs. Remembering to draw baby inwards using your core. And then we'll very slowly and carefully make our way back up to standing. So bend your knees even more deeply. Bring one hand to your hip and then the other. And on an exhale, we're slowly going to rise up. Awesome. Okay, now let's heel toe the feet back together. We'll do a little bit of balancing. So if you'd like, especially if you're further along in your pregnancy, it might help to stand next to a wall just in case, or a chair. Our balance can change so much throughout the pregnancy, and it can really change from day to day too. So we're just going to do a little bit of tree pose. So let's go ahead and ground down into the right foot. You might lift the right toes, spread them wide, plant them back down. Start to shift your weight over into the right foot. Maybe find a spot on the floor or on the wall in front of you that you can focus on. And when you're ready, we'll lift the left foot off the mat. And there's two options here. Turn it out to the side and either touch the toes on the mat with your heel right over your right ankle, kind of like a little kickstand here. So wonderful variation. The weight is still a little more in your right foot, the standing leg, but you got that extra support here. If you feel pretty stable, you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, you're feeling good, then you can take that foot and slide it up just on the inside of your calf. And don't be afraid to grab any extra support if you need to. Try to keep your knee open out to the side, so we're finding this kind of opening in the hips, but we're also strengthening our foot, our ankle, our legs, hips, core even. Balancing poses are wonderful for pregnancy. Just make sure you give yourself just a little extra support if you need it, like a wall or a chair. So we'll take one more breath here. And on the exhale, you can float your foot down, shake it out on the other side. I forgot to mention, if your SI joint is really bothering you, it might be a good idea to sit out any kind of one-legged positions, like lunges, even what we just did, the tree pose, balancing on one foot. You might be fine with the tripod version, or you can just simply stand here and visualize that you're balancing. So when you're ready, start to shift your weight over into your left foot. Lift the left toes, spread them wide. Find your focal point, your drishti, and then slowly set up your right leg, maybe bringing the right foot to the ground, or maybe lifting it up. Just careful not to put it on your knee, because we don't want to push the knee outward. So this is kind of on the calf of the inner leg. When you get there, stay focused on your focal point. Feel that strength in your standing leg really activating. Forgot to mention, you might have your hands on the chair or a wall. You can have your hands at your hips. You can have your hands on your belly, thinking of your baby. So we hold this for one more breath. And then on the exhale, float the foot down, shake it out, and let's go into some hip circles before we make our way down to the mat. So step your feet a little wider than hip width distance, hands to the hips. And we'll just kind of circle the hips from side to side. You can make your hip circles as big or as small as you'd like. And then we'll move in the opposite direction. Hip circles are also so wonderful for pregnancy. You're probably getting the idea here that what we're looking for in pregnancy is strengthening and lengthening. So we want to release any tension that might cause things to be off balance. We also want to strengthen these muscles so we have that support as our belly changes, and so that we can kind of lessen some of the discomforts like back pain and that sort of thing. All right, so you can slow those circles down. And then we'll make our way down to the mat. Okay, so from here we'll come down to the mat just like we did before through proposal lunge, or if there's any other way that you like to get down, just take it slow. You might step 1 foot forward, slowly lower on your back knee, and then from here we'll come into a child's pose. So for child's pose, when you're pregnant, you of course want to give lots of space for your baby. So you might step your knees extra wide here, maybe bring your big toes back towards each other. And depending on how big your baby bump is here, your child's pose might look a little bit different. So from here, we have a few options. The traditional way is to reach your hands forward, kind of reach your hips back, feeling a nice stretch in your hips, in your inner thighs. If you want a little extra support here, you can grab a block or a pillow. Actually, let me give you one more option. Another option is just, if you don't have the props, just to come onto your forearms and kind of let your head hang. And just send your hips back to where you feel a good stretch. So child's pose should be a little bit more of a relaxing pose. You might still be feeling, I know I'm feeling a stretch in this pose, but you can keep it up a little higher here. You can rest your head on a block or a pillow if you got one. And when you're ready, we'll slowly rise back up. And let's go ahead and make our way to our final resting pose. Our Shavasanas tend to look a little bit different in pregnancy. So once you get to a certain part in your pregnancy, you might not feel so comfortable to lay down flat on your back. So when you get to that part, I just invite you to lie down on your left side. You can make a pillow with your left arm, or if you've got a pillow nearby, even better. So I'm going to lay on the left side. The legs are stacked on top of each other with the knees bent. If you have another pillow, you can rest it under your belly, especially if your baby bump is even bigger, or you can use your hands. Sometimes I just kind of gently hug my belly, hug my baby. And we'll just rest here for a few breaths to kind of savor the practice. You can close your eyes if you'd like. We won't stay long here. Just a moment to connect with your baby and have just one more moment of stillness before making your way to whatever you have going on next in your day. You can release any breathing technique that we did. You don't have to worry about 3D breathing or anything that we talked about. Just allow your body to breathe itself. And then when you're ready, you can stay here for sure, or you can slowly make your way out by bringing one hand, your right hand, on the floor in front of you. You're going to slowly using your hand and your arms to press yourself up while gently hugging baby in towards you. We'll just meet in a comfortable cross-legged position, hands on your belly. One more deep breath in and a long exhale out. Well done, Mama. If you made it to the end of this video, go you. What a gift you've given yourself and your baby for taking this time out of your day to strengthen your body, to relieve tension, to reduce stress, and to connect with your sweet baby. So take care, and we'll see you next time.